Hi, I'm Kamali and welcome to Newsfeed. Here's a look at some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world. Some Arab influencers still don't seem to understand how racist blackface is. Calls for justice in Nigeria after the murders of female students. How bats are so instrumental in spreading viruses. And the soft toy that went to the stars. And top of our newsfeed, Arab influencers missing the point. A number of them say they're trying to show solidarity with black people by using a racist trope. Take a look at this. Well, here's a look at some other stories related to the death and killing of George Floyd. Well, this is Mark Esper, and he can't make up his mind. Does he want to keep his job as the US Secretary of Defense, or does he want to be a check on the executive power of Donald Trump by advising against the deployment of the US Army on the streets of America? Now, Trump has threatened to do just that, and Esper said he would send home some troops who'd been flown into a base near Washington. Esper then changed his mind and said the troops would stay. He did this after visiting with Trump in the White House, so I guess keeping his job is more important. And talk about choosing a side. Snapchat say they will stop promoting Donald Trump's account. Wait, he has a Snap account. He's 73. Anyway, the companies say in a statement they simply cannot promote accounts in America that are linked to people who incite racial violence, whether they do so on or off our platform. So it's not for what he says on the account, which I guess is just videos of him with filters of puppy noses. It's for what he says off it, and that's quite a step for a social media company and goes towards the idea that these spaces should be inclusive and supportive, and that people's IRL behavior has consequences online. Wasn't it once the other way around? Well, to Nigeria now, where the news of the killing of some female students has people there calling for justice. Hillary has the story.
It's a sad time for Nigerian women, and they're making their voices heard on social media. First, it was the rape of 18-year-old Jennifer. She was reportedly gang raped by 5 boys, all her friends. They're accused of drugging her drink. And then we learned of the killing of a 16-year-old girl by a policeman. And just last week, a 22-year-old undergraduate, Vera Omozua, was raped and killed in a church. She was reportedly hit with a metal object. Now, this has got Nigerians talking. This tweet seems to sum it all up. It says, "Stop raping us, stop killing us. Our body isn't sex toys. No means no. Consent can be withdrawn at any time. Relationship doesn't give you rights over my body. We are tired." And then it ends with 3 hashtags: justice for Jennifer, justice for Owa, and justice for Tina. But it's not just women who are talking about this. artists and politicians are doing so as well. Now this artist, Black Bones, has this to say: stop raping our women, stop making excuses for rapists. And even the president, Muhammadu Buhari, has weighed in on this. He tweeted this: "I would like to offer my deepest condolences to the family and friends of Uwaila Omozua, that is the girl who was raped in a church. I expect the Nigeria Police Force to speedily and diligently investigate this case and ensure that all the culprits responsible for this barbaric act are brought to justice." And just when we were trying to come to grips with the deaths of Uwa and Tina and Jennifer, we've just learned of the rape of another lady this week. Her name is Barakat, and this tweet from Atiku Abubakar. He ran for the presidency last year against President Muhammadu Buhari. Now he tweeted this: "After speaking with the Omozua family, my attention was drawn to yet another rape and murder of another young lady, Barakat Bello, in Ibadan. As a father, I know what it's like to deal with such a loss. We are racing against time." One thing to note is that it's difficult to get a rape conviction in a Nigerian court, and that's because, one, the justice system practically requires women to strip to show evidence that they've been raped. Another thing is the police force. The police are accused of always asking for bribes. This is why Nigerians have taken to social media, and they hope that this time around their voices will bring a change.
Well, the coronavirus may have made it to humans via bats. Here's why the little mammals have such a big impact on all of us.
Bats. They've been demonized in popular culture for time immemorial, and more recently have been maligned as virus superhosts, thought to be the sources of the Ebola virus, Hendra virus, the Marburg viruses, the Nipah virus, SARS, MERS, and even the current COVID-19 coronavirus. But despite their somewhat ghoulish appearance and creepy associations, bats are widely misunderstood creatures, without which we wouldn't have some of our favorite fruits and vegetables, or even advances in sonar technology. So why are bats linked to so many deadly viruses? The short answer is, well, because they can fly. No, really. You see, bats are classified as chiropterans, mammals with 4 limbs adapted as wings, making them the only mammals capable of true and sustained flight. And flying, especially for mammals, requires a lot of energy, with some smaller bats capable of beating their wings up to 17 times a second. This exerts a lot of stress on the bat, right down to the molecular level. A breakthrough study in 2018 by Dr. Peng Zhou at the now infamous Wuhan Institute of Virology explored this in detail. The metabolic demands of sustained flight are so great that they actually damage the bat's DNA, causing breakages similar to those that occur during viral infections. As a result, the DNA damage triggers an immune response that call in white blood cells to kill off any potential pathogen invasions. However, the natural consequence of this is inflammation. And given that bats undergo this process pretty much any time they take flight, you would expect them to constantly suffer from, well, inflammation. But they don't. And that's because they've evolved to dampen the activity of sting proteins, which are proteins that allow mammalian cells to trigger an inflammatory response when a virus is detected. So essentially, just by flying, bats are in a constant battle of enduring stress while their immune systems fight off inflammation, which means they are left vulnerable to actual viruses and pathogens, yet they don't seem to get sick from them. Earlier this year, a study by the University of California shed light on this strange little perk. When bat immune systems are triggered, whether through damaged DNA, sustained flight, or actual viral infection, their cells produce a protein called interferon alpha. This protein essentially walls off virus pathogens and prevents them from replicating. Now, most mammals have similar interferon proteins that kick in at varying degrees when they detect infection, but these studies show that most bats have their interferon alpha genes activated all the time, effectively containing viruses so they remain dormant within the bat. In fact, on average, most bats have about 2 zoonotic viruses floating around their systems at any given time, making them the most potent viral incubators in the mammal kingdom, even more so than rodents. And given that bats live in large roosts with hundreds, even thousands of them in close quarters, and that they fly great distances, These viruses can spread between them and linger in colonies for long periods of time. Meanwhile, surviving virus pathogens adapt to living in coexistence with bat immune systems, meaning they can become stronger and more resistant, especially as bat body temperatures easily exceed 40 degrees Celsius in standard flight. So, when their natural habitats are encroached upon and they're forced into contact with other mammals, such as in wet markets where illegal wildlife trading sometimes occurs, and they're confined, caged, and kept in close proximity to other animals, including predators, the ensuing stress dampens bat immune systems, and they end up releasing more fluids: urine, defecation, sweat, and saliva. This can infect other animals either directly or through an intermediary, such as pigs, civet cats, pangolins, and even humans. Given that our immune systems are nowhere near as strong as bats, once those zoonotic viruses enter our system, they can be catastrophic. So, does this make bats our enemy? Well, no. Bats are just doing what bats do and what they've always done. The spillover of viruses from bats to humans often comes from our own malpractice. Deforestation due to farming, overhunting, and livestock trade all increase the risk of exposure to bat colonies and the potential transferal of deadly zoonotic viruses. Therefore, culling bats en masse to prevent viral spread, as was seen in Indonesia earlier this year, is not a sustainable solution, especially in the tropics where nectar-drinking bats are vital pollinators for over 500 plant species, including mangoes, bananas, avocados, and agave, whereas insect-eating microbats consume millions of bugs in the night, providing a natural pest control for plants and mitigating the excessive use of toxic pesticides for many farmers. Meanwhile, fruit-eating bats disperse seeds and natural fertilizer so rainforests can grow. If anything, bats are largely misunderstood animals and should be protected, or at least left alone.
Okay, let's keep spinning around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Thursday. Face masks work and will be with us forever, maybe. A huge study by the World Health Organization and published in The Lancet says that face masks reduce risk of infection by 85%. The same study also backed social distancing as another effective preventative measure. Oh, and eye protection too. A think tank says that the fossil fuel industry could be on the brink of collapse because of the huge drop in demand caused by the pandemic lockdown. Carbon trackers say there will be a 2% decline in demand for fossil fuels, and this will equate to a loss of $25 trillion for the industry. And last things today, the commercial launch of 2 humans to the ISS last weekend has made an unlikely celebrity.
And it's right at about 12 minutes when Dragon will...
It was not just Doug and I who accomplished the launch here. We do have an Apatosaurus aboard. We both have 2 boys who are super interested in dinosaurs, and we collected up all the dinosaurs between the 2 houses, and Trimmer, the Apatosaurus, got the vote from the boys to make the trip into space today with us.
Alright, that'll be all from the Newsfeed team. Do get in touch with your comments, questions, complaints and suggestions. You'll find me at Kamali Melbourne on Twitter. If you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for being with us, and I'll see you again tomorrow.